Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today, I'm joining along with a little train of content creator fun, I guess, that's been going around since at least the summer. I've seen it. It's a 20s question tag that's been passed along, and Allie at the Family Meeple has tagged me in her video, and she and I did a collaboration a few weeks ago talking about our favorite solo games that aren't necessarily made to be solo games. I might add a link to it up here, I think is where it goes if I do that. But anyway, in one of her videos, answering her challenge from All Aboard Gamer, Brandon All Aboard Gamer, and Lexi called her out, and I'm representing their shirt here because me and Allie kind of met in All Aboard Gamer Discord, and I think we get along pretty well, even though we've never actually really met, and I've only had a few conversations across the Discord and in our video. But she was kind enough to tag me, so now here I am answering that tag to answer these 20 questions and represent All Aboard Gamer, who kind of brought us together to get to where we are now. So if you haven't already, go check out the Family Meeple, or if you haven't already, please subscribe to me, hit the thumbs up for both of us, and I guess without any further ado, I'll get into my 20 questions, or my attempt at answering these 20 questions as best I can. So number one is the name, age, and location. The good old AOL, ASL, I guess it's the old school way of doing it. But yep, my name is Brian. I think you know that from my intros every time if you've been watching along. Yep, Brian, that's me. I am 42 as of recording this. However, by the time it's released, I will be 43. This should come out just after my birthday, I believe, in early October. So, yep, 42, currently 43 when you see this. And finally, currently I'm located in Germany. I've been here for a while, 8 years now, I believe. I got here in, math checks out, 2014. It's now 2022, so 8 years. I've been in Germany working in the military and now for the military. So that's question number one out of the way. Pretty easy. Now we get into the more board game related questions, and number two is my favorite childhood board game, and really this one threw me for a loop, just because I can't really think of anything that I used to play a lot as a child. Me and my brother, we used to make up our own games. We played a lot of sports and a lot outside, so we didn't really do a whole lot of board gaming growing up. We would invent our own kind of sports games with tennis rackets and tennis balls and basketballs and whatever we had laying around, or we'd go do traditional go play baseball or basketball or tennis at the park or whatever. So we only board gamed from time to time. I mentioned in other videos, my parents used to go play cards with like my aunts and cousins, and the adults would sit around and play their card games, and we might stick around inside and play various board games, whatever would happen, either at our house or at my cousin's house or wherever we were for the event. But there's nothing that super stuck out that we would want to go back to over and over again. We'd like to just try different things, and I'm still that way. As you see, I've got a lot of things in my collection. I don't like to just stick to a game here or there, but we would play cards. We'd play Uno, Candyland when I was really young. What else? Risk here and there. I'm still not a fan. I wasn't a fan then. Still not a fan now. Monopoly. The old favorites. I can't remember what it was called. I know my cousin had a game where you had the trays where you'd slip the cards in and try to be the first one to put them in numerical order from lowest to highest as you're kind of drafting cards around. I wish I could remember what that was called. We played that one a lot. But yeah, we would just play whatever we had handy at the time, or we try to create our own games. I remember creating a bunch of roll and move games on like pieces of paper and cardboard and whatnot growing up. So, but yeah, so I can't really come up with like a single favorite childhood board game that I played. We just kind of played what we had at the time and made do with it. So hopefully that answers that question to the best of my ability. All right, so number 3, when did I really get into the hobby? I would pin this around 2016, 2017. That's when I found a group of people who introduced me to some of the board games they had. I've been kind of playing sports board gaming off and on since high school. So I was always into kind of rolling and looking up, cards, stats of playing sports board games or tabletop sports and keeping the stats and stuff like that. And so I've always been interested in the rolling and playing games with cards and, creating your own world in that way. I looked at Magic in high school, but I never really got into it. The rules kind of threw me off, and I never really knew anybody who played anyway. So that would have been the 90s. But I really got into it in around 2016, 2017 when I found other people who introduced me to some of the games they had. We were playing Pandemic and Eldritch Horror. Zolkeen, I think someone had just come out. A couple other games. We would just kind of play when we got together, and that got me into the world of thinking like I really enjoy this hobby and I want to see what else there is. And they started introducing me to what else there is, and I found Will Wheaton's tabletop playthroughs, and I started watching those, and the Dice Tower, watching those videos just to find out more about what other games are out there besides the few we had and were playing at the time. And that's really when I got into it. And in 2017, when I went to the Essen trade show, and I just bought, I think, 10 or 15 games when I was there, and really started to build my collection from that point. That's when I really first got into the hobby. Was 2016, 2017, when I had 2 or 3 other people who played games like I liked and introduced me to those games. And I had I got Concordia and had somebody who wanted to play Concordia, and it wasn't just Pandemic and what other I wish I could think of other simpler intro level games we were playing. We branched out into the more extreme games and really got those going. And Pandemic Legacy, I think, is really one that got me really into it. I don't remember if that's a question later or not, but yeah, moving on from regular Pandemic into playing Legacy with a group of people and carrying on that campaign and seeing how the board changed and everything like that. That summer, specifically that Essen show, when we went specifically to pick up, Pandemic Legacy Season 2, but I just got a bunch of other things as well at that show. 2016, 2017 is when I really started to get in the hobby and watch the videos and see what else there was in the world. All right, number 4, the first game I purchased, and do I still own it? I wish I could tell you I remember the first game I purchased. I don't. I'm sure I don't own it. I know some of the early games I purchased. I was always a history buff, and I really liked the Civil War. So I bought I know the Civil War board game where you're playing a big map of the war, and you were either controlling the Union or the Confederates and moving like little squares around the map. And I owned that till recently. I gave it to one of my buddies who's way more of a history person and war gamer, and he probably actually played it. I never really played it. I tried to play it once for a few hours, and it just was so long. So I was glad to hand that off to somebody who hopefully gets some play out of it and has someone to play with. But I also remember having a Gettysburg-specific board game that I enjoyed, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but I know I don't still own that one. But those are kind of the early games I remember having for a while since high school or early college. All right, number 5. What are some of my hobbies other than board gaming? And I've been kind of a hobbyist my whole life. And, I run through, I guess maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know. I've never really settled down with a specific hobby. I kind of ebb and flow through them. So some of the ones I still have right now are I homebrew, although I haven't done that in good 8 or 9 months. I don't really drink a lot of beer to maintain homebrewing as frequently, but a couple times a year I'll probably put together a batch of beer. I play World of Warcraft a lot. I don't know if that's considered a hobby, but that's something I still do in my off time. I've always liked watching movies. I was really a movie buff in college, and coming out of college I would constantly be at the theaters or at Blockbuster or Netflix when they're mailing packages. I had both the Netflix and the Blockbuster by mail movie I was constantly just rotating what was coming and going and what I was watching movie-wise in the early 2000s. So I've seen a lot of films from like 2000 to 2010. Pretty much every big film that came out and highly regarded independents. I've seen probably a good 70% of them. Something else I like to do, amusement parks. I used to work in an amusement park. I'm a kind of a roller coaster buff. I wish I could afford to go more often, traveling and paying for going to the amusement park. So I don't have a whole lot of coaster credits under my hat. Unfortunately, if you're a coaster enthusiast, you know all about the credits. I think I've got 80 credits in my life. So, for someone who's 40 years old and been a roller coaster enthusiast for most of those 40 years, 80 is not a lot of credits, but I try to get around when I can to new amusement parks and ride the roller coasters. It's just something I can't really afford to do, and my family doesn't really enjoy it either. My youngest is just now tall enough to start riding things, but she's still kind of scared of the bigger rides, so I don't really have anybody to go with unless I specifically leave my family behind, and I don't like doing that. When we go to an amusement park, that's a place you want to take your families to, or I've got to take somebody along with me and then make my family wait. So, it's gotten harder as I've gotten older, but I really enjoyed doing amusement parks. And finally, one of my other hobbies, if you want to call it a hobby, I like watching sports. I'm a big Ohio State fan. It's football season right now. I enjoy that, watching football, baseball, and hockey are specifically my favorite things to follow. All right, let me get some coffee before I move on to the second part. All right, number 6. What is my breakthrough game? And I mentioned this earlier. Definitely Pandemic Legacy. Moving from playing Pandemic, which I really, really loved and we loved playing, to playing the Legacy version, where the board's evolving and the cards are evolving and the rules are evolving and we're getting connected to our characters. And even though you don't have to play the same character from game to game, we pretty much did. Those characters become your character, and even though it might be beneficial for somebody else to play that character this game because of how the cards are dealt out, it felt bad to be like, I guess you'll play my character this time. But just that world of I can rip up the game, and play it 12 to 24 times, and then it's gone. I don't have that game anymore. I don't have Pandemic Legacy Season 1 or Season 2. I've got the board and like some components just in case I need them. But that's it. Like, those games I played them and they're gone, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I played both of them through Season 1 and 2. I've played through twice with 2 different groups, and I enjoyed every time. I've got Season 0 still on cellophane behind me. You may or may not be able to see it right now. And waiting for the right time to get the group together to hopefully play that one and not have to introduce it to a new group. But being in the realm of military, people are always coming and going, and so it's hard to have that settle down set group for all time. But yeah, Pandemic Legacy, Pandemic leading into Legacy, I guess, if you want to go back a little bit further, was what blew my brain and made me want to keep seeing what else was out there. All right, number 7, a theme that always draws me in. This is another really tough one for me. I don't really care about theme. I like theme, like when I see it being presented by another content creator or a Kickstarter preview type video or whatever, or I see the box, and like lots of times the themes can draw my eyes to it, but once I get playing, it's definitely more of the mechanisms and mechanics, and those are what are going to keep me playing and liking the game, or not really the theme, although the theme can help learn the game. I'm trying to think of specific themes that always draw me in. I mean, I've always been partial to like animal themes. I've got a lot of animal games. My kids like animals, so those are always easy to just be like, oh, hey, look at this neat little animal game. That's why Creature Comforts. I saw it. It got me to watch a video about how to play, and I was like, oh, kind of an introductory worker placement game. That'd be good for like my light group and my kids to play, my family. So I picked that one up just kind of based on theme, but if it was not a good looking game after the theme kind of caught my eye, I wouldn't have picked it up. So there's that. And then, I've always liked history, and basically a lot of my games revolve around building up cities or having these ancient towns and things you're kind of building up or building out, or utilizing your little workers to do things within villages with a historical context. Whether or not they actually have that context is to be determined. And one other theme that I, just looking around my shelf, I know I have a lot of is kind of macabre or horror themed games. I guess I kind of always like that whole us versus the bad guy aspect that you get out of a lot of those horror themed games, Dead of Winter and Horrified and Final Girl are some of my favorite games, and they've all got that, horror villain theme going on, and making your own kind of horror story as a group or individual or whatever the case is. I guess I always kind of like that extreme fiction aspect of, trying to get out alive. But there's no specific theme, I think, that I'm like, oh, definitely every time this theme comes out, I need to get it type game. I just, if it catches my eye, I'll look into it. All right, number 8. What are my favorite mechanisms? In one of my first videos, or I guess not first videos, but one of my videos I made not too long ago, talks about my 10 favorite mechanisms. If you want to check that out, I might put it there. If I remember, if I add it in, if I can. So check them out. My top 10 favorite mechanisms. I've made the video, but I think for me, my favorite concept for mechanisms are engine buildings or action selection type games where you're planning things out step by step. So you can take your actions and go, okay, I want to do this to get that, so I can do this to get that, to do that, to do that. And you can think 3 or 4 turns in advance, or with your engine, I need to get this into my engine so that way I can do these things I want to do later. I kind of like the pre-planning, 3 or 4 steps out are kind of the mechanisms that I really enjoy, is being able to have some ideas for what my next few turns are going to be, and then playing them out in order. And when that connects, it really feels good that, I set out to do these things and then I was able to do them, because sometimes that can get thwarted by your other players. So I really enjoy those style of games. So, those style of games are going to be near the top of my list in any of my favorite games lists. All right, my number 9 question. Mechanisms I don't like or aren't good at. Turns out, video, boom, 5 least favorite mechanisms in board games, supplemental to the last question. And in that one, you'll see that my number 1 is bluffing and lying. I do not like game, probably because I'm not good at it, but any game where I've got to be like bluffing, just it doesn't work for me. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Maybe it's too interactive. I don't know. I've just never been a good liar, and I don't like those type of games. So that's one mechanism I steer away from most of the time. Is any game where I've got to bluff or lie about things is not a game that I typically enjoy, and usually I'll just sit out and let others play. All right, number 10, the newest game in my collection, and have you played it? Well, I thought I'd be getting some games here. It's the very end of September when I film this. Going to be going on vacation. My mom comes in actually later this week, but it'll be in the past when you see this. So I'm filming ahead a lot of videos right now because I'm not going to be filming and doing much in October because I'll be on a cruise. So, but I know I've got a bunch of Kickstarters that are fulfilling and some games I've ordered that just haven't arrived that I thought might be the answer to this question. However, none of those have come yet as I'm filming this. So the latest game in my collection is Santa Maria, which is somewhere behind me. Oh, it's right behind me. And I got that one about 2 weeks ago, actually. I've had it for a little while now. And I have played it solo once. So, yeah, it's the newest game, and I have played it. However, I've got probably 10 games that are going to be here in the next couple weeks that I probably will not play by the time you watch this video. So that's what that is. The latest game I have right now, I have played. Bunch of games coming that I probably won't get to until into October and November. All right, number 11, favorite player count. I think a lot of gamers will probably say this, like 3 to 5 is kind of the happy place for most games. You want 3 is probably best for most. You're going to get more than 2, so you're not playing against one person. But once you get into 4 or 5, usually the game's going to take longer. So I think 3 is probably the happiest, but really 3 to 5 is my ideal group size for 90% of the games I play and enjoy. Yeah, 3 to 5. That was number 11. My favorite player count. All right, board game pet peeve number 12. One of my first video on this channel was about my pet peeves. Boom, 5 of them. I don't know how many of these I can put up there, but I've only ever done one. So if I could put more than one, there might be another one up there. If not, then I guess whichever one I put there is the one that won out. Anyway, my first video was about my pet peeves. There was 5 of them, and a lot of them kind of revolve around one concept, and that is rules. I hate when I'm trying to teach and people don't seem like they're paying attention or are disinterested or distracted or whatever. That's a real big pet peeve for me, is people not paying attention to the rules, because then they're going to have a bunch of questions as they're playing that we've covered. Another one is just if they're bringing a game and they don't know they're just now taken out of the cellophane and they're saying, hey, let's play this game that I'm just now unwrapping and I know nothing about other than what's on the back of the box or what video they saw. Like, they haven't even taken the time to learn the game themselves before they're trying to introduce it to other people. That's not to say they have to play it and stuff, but at least be familiar with how to play it before you're bringing it forward. And finally, another rules-related one is people house ruling things. I know this is a really common trope for Monopoly, bunch of house rules, but when you're playing a game and someone's like, well, this is how we've always done it, but the rules say do this. Like, you've made up rules for the game. Yeah, that irks me too. There's sometimes you can kind of house rule things to make them work for you and everybody can get on board with it. But for the most part, the rules are the way they are because they've been play tested to work that way. And I don't like breaking that too much unless it's to make the game playable. There are a few games that I've house ruled because I will not play them otherwise. I just don't like the way it is as is, and in those cases I've seen other people suggest these rules to make it more playable. Off the top of my head I can't think of any, but I know there's an example or two that I've definitely been like, oh, okay, yeah, if I try that, maybe I will enjoy this game a little bit. So those are my pet peeves. Are all kind of rules related, other than the rest of them. If you want to check out my initial video, if you haven't already. Number 13, what player color do I play most often? For me, I enjoy playing purple when I can. My daughter's favorite color is purple, so when I play with her, she's purple. Purple's not a common player color in most games anyway. Usually after that, I'll default to red or blue. But purple is the one I generally try to play as my chosen player color. And I bought the old purple All Aboard Gamer shirt. All right, number 14. Do I read the rule book or watch a video to learn how to play? And the answer is yes. Usually, before I even decide I'm going to get a game, I've already seen a video on how it plays and reviews, and I don't want to spend money on something blindly more often than not. So I'll usually watch a few videos to get varying opinions on people, how they felt the game played, how to play if one of those is out, to get a feel for like, how will this play, and is it something I could teach or play solo or whatever the case is, before I spend money on a game. If it's a game that I'm going to get from the library or whatever, and I just read the rule book, I'll do that. But whenever I get up a game, before I go to teach somebody else, I'll read through the rule book, and I'll probably have already seen a video or two on it. But I'll definitely read through the actual rules once they're in my hand. And a lot of times before I introduce a game to people, I'll play it by myself. If it has a solo mode, or even if it doesn't, I might just play like 2 hands just to get the feel for how the game plays. So I feel like I've got at least a little bit of knowledge before I bring it to other people. So that's kind of my plan usually, is to learn as much as I can about it before I try to teach it, because I don't want to teach it incorrectly or miss things if I can avoid it. And I want to have the most knowledge about what the game is and what the game can be as I can. So yeah, do I read the rule book or watch the how to play video? Yes I do. All right, number 15, favorite snack to eat while playing board games. For this one, I put no, I don't. I've got coffee here, but I'm not playing a board game. Sometimes I'll have a drink here and I won't touch it when I'm playing. Sometimes I will, depending. But snacks is not something I like having around my games. I like to try to keep them as clean as possible. That's not to say I don't. We've got a table in the back corner there where people can bring their snacks and stuff. I just ask that they don't bring like dirty snacks, Doritos and whatnot. But I personally, typically when I'm playing the game, like even if I had something here, I don't touch it for the most part. Usually my game days are going to be after lunch or dinner, leading into, dinner time or midnight snack or whatever the case is. I try to plan my game sessions just after people should have eaten already, so that way it's not even an issue. Nobody should get hungry during my game days. We have had times where we've had pizza in here, and we'll eat, a couple slices of pizza. I guess I could say that's my favorite game day snack, but that's kind of been out of necessity because of when the timing of our game group was. We just went in on pizza and would, have a couple slices and then get back to the game. But for the most part, I try not to eat at the game table, and I hope most people don't, or if they do, they're at least eating, clean food, cookies and pretzels and the like. All right, number 16. Have I been to a board game convention, and which one? Yes, I went to Spiel Essen 2017. That's the only one I've been to. I was supposed to be going back, I think right now-ish. When you watch this video, I was going to go. Essen's on, I think, finishing up as this video comes out. Should be the last day of that fair. I was going to be there Thursday and Friday with a couple of my friends, but I pulled myself out of that because I'm going on the cruise the following week, which will be me. I leave the day after this video comes out, I believe. I'll be getting on a plane tomorrow morning and going down to Rome and getting on a cruise. So I decided I shouldn't be around that many people because in order to get on said cruise and said plane, I need to not be sick. And unfortunately, we're still in that state of trying to stay away from crowds if you're trying to pass COVID tests and whatnot. So I taken myself out of going to that convention. It was a hard decision, but I think it's a decision I had to make. And yeah, that's me talking about it now. Let's talk about, yes, I've been to Essen 2017 to answer the question. I really enjoyed it. I love it. It was a wonderful time. If you get a chance to come out, especially, I know everybody in the States wants to come to Europe anyway. So I say if you can time it in late October, mid-October, whenever Essen happens to be that year, do it. Go to the convention. It's so much fun. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to going back next year if I'm still in Germany next October. Yeah. So that's the one I've been to and the one I would go back to. I'm also looking forward to getting a chance to go back to some of the other ones back in the States as well. All right, number 17, an unreleased game that I'm most looking forward to. And this one, I'm not going to say it's hard. I was trying to make it hard. I was trying to look for something that isn't crowdfunding already, something I haven't already pre-ordered, something to look forward to getting information on more of next year. And I got tired of searching for that. And I went back to the game I've been looking forward to since earlier this year when I heard about it. And that's the Legacy of You. Ever since I heard about this solo campaign game by Garfield Games, that's card collection and worker placement all in one, where when you win, you're going to get like changes to the game. When you lose, you're going to get changes to the game. It's a story, but it's like a one-off story. I'm notorious for not enjoying campaign games, so that was one of my concerns, but I think this is a campaign game more like a legacy game. And that's what I'm hoping I get out of it, because I really enjoy legacy games where you can pick it up and play it, and it's kind of a one-off, but the results of that one-off change your next one-off, as opposed to I've got to keep track, like Gloomhaven, I've got to keep track of what skills do I have, how much money do I have, how many coins. Like, I don't like that aspect. I don't want all the bookkeeping. So I'm hoping Legacy of You is, I won this game, now I get this card or two or whatever, and I add it to the stack for next time, and that's how the next game goes. And that's how legacy games play, and that's why I really like legacy games, and I dislike campaign games. And I know they're really similar, so it's really weird to be such a teetering of feelings about that. But I don't know. I don't like all the bookkeeping that goes into traditional campaign games. And I really like the modifications for legacy games. And even though Legacy of You says Legacy in the title, it's supposedly a campaign game. It's solo only. I've been, playing a lot of solo games anyway. I've not really dabbled into Garfield games. That's changed recently with Tabletop Simulator. And I don't know where I'm going with this sentence, but Legacy of You is something I've had my eyes on ever since I first heard about it at the beginning of this year, and I've already pre-ordered it, and so I'm looking forward to its arrival next year, and that is the unreleased game I'm most looking forward to right now. All right, number 18. What is my favorite thing about the board game hobby? So when I first got this question and saw Allie's video, she mentioned that the languages of love, the 5 languages of love, and quality time is kind of her love language. And I feel that's pretty true of me too. Like, just getting together and doing something together, getting that quality time and playing with people you enjoy being around, and having fun or whatever. That's what I like about the hobby, is meeting all the other people who share the same interests and spending time partaking in those interests together. The other thing I really like about the board game hobby is I've always been interested in puzzles. I had the puzzles magazine back when I was a kid and in high school and stuff, and doing the puzzles, the crossword puzzles and the logic puzzles and Sudoku. And I really like just thinking logically and working through puzzles. And board games are interactive, physical puzzles instead of just sitting down, with a book. And I like that too. So those are the 2 things I like, I guess, about the hobby the most, is getting together and sharing in something we all enjoy, while also doing that mental kind of brain fun puzzling activities. So that's, I guess, 2 answers, but whatever. It's my favorite thing about the hobby is being with people doing puzzles, I guess. All right, number 19. When I get a new game, do I open it and punch out things right away and everything else, or do I wait until I play the game? Well, if you look at my shelf, although I think I've played most everything on my shelf these days, there's nothing in cellophane. I get it, I open it, I look at it, I read the rules, maybe not right away, but within a day or 2, if I think I'm going to play it soon. And generally, I'm going to get a game that I want to get to the table, so I'm not going to put it on a shelf and have it sit there for months. Typically, that's a different case with Pandemic Legacy Season 0, which is the only one still in cellophane, because I don't want to wrap that cellophane until we're ready to sit down and learn it together. But generally, I'm going to unwrap a game and figure it out by myself before I have people come over to play it. I'm going to punch it out and figure out how I want to organize the bits and bobs as I'm going through the rules to see what best groups together, so that way I can figure out the best way to store it on my shelf. If I got everything punched out and bagged, or maybe I'm making my own insert for it. That's what I like to do. I just want to get my hands on that game and everything that it has to offer, and start learning it as quickly as possible too. So that way I'm ready to play it as soon as somebody else is ready to play it with me. Number 20, the final one. The last question isn't really a question, but this is where I take my chance to tag somebody else. So who do I want to see do this challenge? And it's unfortunate that I don't have many viewers and subscribers, and the ones that are content creators that I know have already been involved in this. So if you're somebody who's creating your own content, and I don't know that you're following my channel or watching along, that's who I'm going to call out first, I guess. A small creator who, like me, just doesn't have many followers. Maybe you do have followers. Maybe I just don't know. You're somebody who's already kind of got your own following that I just don't know is following me. But yeah, if you're that person, comment below. I'm tagging you. If you haven't done this already and you're somebody who watches my channel and sees this video, yeah, that's one person, I guess, potentially tagged. But specifically now, I'm going to call out a couple of my friends that I know haven't done board game content, but they played board games with me and have their own YouTube channels. So Ian and Aaron, if you guys want to make your first board game content on your channels that you already have established, this is a tag you guys as well. Fetigator, he's on the All Aboard Gaming Discord channel. I know he's been involved in some other creators content. I'm not sure if he has his own channel. I couldn't find it. If he does, if you do, Fetigator, let me know so I can follow you as well. But yeah, I'll tap you. And then finally, I'm going to go a little bit bigger here. I know Professor Meg is starting to try to come into making more YouTube content and working with Board Game Co. So I might poke Board Game Co. and let them know that I'm going to call out Professor Meg, because why not? I'll give her a chance to put some content out there and maybe point a finger back at my channel in turn. So those are my call outs, I guess. Not sure if anything will come out of my tags. Like I said, I don't know anybody obvious to tag, because everybody I know who watches my channels has already done their own video. So that's where I'm going to leave this video. I appreciate you coming along and taking a little look back at these 20 questions with me. Thanks, Allie from the Family Meeple, from tagging me and getting me to do this. And everybody else who's been involved in this tag chain and in the future, where we see where it goes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and comment below, especially if you're that content creator I need to follow because you follow me and I didn't know it. All right, thank you everybody. Goodbye.